All right, hey everybody. My name's Andrew,
My name is Jason,
and this is the End of the World Movie Review Podcast, Episode 1.
the podcast.
Yes, podcast entitled The Podcast.
Yeah, well, the end of the world movie reviews. YouTube's, with season one's over in the can. We didn't get renewed for season two. Just the budget cost. But we don't really know how to control our budget.
Yeah, all those Jews that own the show, they were just screaming at me all the time.
Yeah,
Even though they're related to me, they just weren't giving us any slack. So, we did 9 episodes of our video series, and now we've decided to move on for a cheaper, more efficient way to yell about our opinions via this podcast.
Yeah, and this is actually pretty overdue because there's been a lot of things that I've been wanting to scream about personally. But we've had to wait for a certain movie to come out in order to do so. But, what this is, if you've never heard or seen, you've never seen our show before, obviously, because, we got canned, so.
Yeah, no one likes us.
So, here's the deal. We're going to talk about movies, and we're probably going to spout our very opinionated opinions, but they're very accurate. And we're going to use a lot of expletives while we do so. And you might learn something. You might learn some facts. Our opinions are educated, even though they're filled with just vile hatred and rage.
Mm-hmm. This is also the sound of, viable humility. Oh, wait. That's right. But yeah, you might learn something, but probably not.
Yeah.
Because it's about pop culture and movies, and really it doesn't matter. But we're mad about it, because we like stuff. Because, art is important, and there's a place for everything in movies and art, and even, something as silly as a Godzilla movie is artful in its own way.
Well, I mean, how can it not be? But, I mean, we'll get into how important Godzilla is as an art form.
Yes.
But hopefully you guys are willing to tune in while you're, jacking it or whatever you guys do when you're listening to...
Well, I mean, that's all we're doing. We're literally just sitting here with our dicks out, just touching each other. Because it's just, that's what nerds do on podcasts, right? Touch their wieners. Sounds like this. But, we'll worry about that later.
So, since you last left us, I actually opened a new business, so I'm super busy all the time. And what's in your neck of the woods, Andrew?
Oh, I work my full-time job like every other grown-up. I just don't complain about it like you do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But that's all I do is complain, because I'm like, man, I work at a comic book shop. This is dreadful.
Right. Anyway, I feel like we're dragging on, so let's just get into the meat of the thing. Ooh, your mom got into some meat the other day, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Told her to ask you about it. Great.
Who goes after my mom in public?
I'm just saying, man. Woman loves her meat. Anyway, episode 1 is going to be about Godzilla. Ooh, in case you guys are wondering, that's actually not Godzilla. That's the sound of my dick getting a little hard. Ready for action.
Yeah, I mean... We were just touching about a while ago, but you grew teeth and I got scared.
Right. So this is a pretty long anticipated movie for, fans of things, because the last Godzilla movie we saw was the one we try and pretend never existed back in 1999 with Matthew Broderick and Hank Azaria and that one girl with blonde hair that nobody remembers.
I mean, just the fact that you said Hank Azaria was in the movie just tells me you know more about it than I've remembered.
Well, I mean, he is the voice of Homer Simpson. I like him.
Yeah, no, the last Godzilla movie, I remember it was a big buzz thing. I was a teenager, and I remember going to Taco Bell. They had Godzilla cups, and God, I mean, it was just like, this movie is just gonna just tear everything up. And it was a disappointment, kind of like how Independence Day was for me. That previous 2 years before, or year before, whenever Independence Day, that was I should have known.
It came out during the year of our Lord, which has to do with Will Smith. Will Smith is the year of our Lord, obviously, because he's so awesome.
Yeah, so the last Godzilla fell short, and since then, nobody, I mean...
Well, by fell short, you mean it was a complete ripoff of Jurassic Park. It had velociraptors, Godzilla looked like the T-Rex, he chased him down the street, and, the water was moving in the little cups when he was walking down this. It was just terrible. They drove a car out of his mouth, for God's sakes.
Well, wouldn't you, though? I mean,
I guess if I could drive a car out of Godzilla's mouth, and Puff Daddy had to make that... Hear my cry, hear my call, give me, with, Jimmy Page. And I'm like, Jimmy Page, what the fuck are you doing? You were in that one band that people liked for some reason because they were high for 30 years. What are you doing with Puff Daddy? Anyway, 1999 was a bad year for Godzilla, and we haven't seen anything else from him since until now with the new movie,
I mean, Andrew's actually, can you just tell he's actually upset about the last movie?
I'm a little upset about some stuff because I'm a huge Godzilla fan. I've seen every fucking Godzilla movie. I've loved, like, it was a big part of my childhood. I'm a nerd. I like stuff. But anyway, like, Godzilla came out in 1954, and so, like, this is his 60th year. And
this is it.
We came in strong with a brand new movie from, like, some new fresh faces in Hollywood, and now we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
Jason, what do you think?
Well, Godzilla, the new movie, has some things going on in it. It's got some art.
Who directed this movie, first of all?
Oh, God, we got to talk about the people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that we normally do. Well, Gareth Edwards, I believe, is the director. He did not write it. Some guy named Browntown, I think.
Max Borenstein?
Yeah,
Max Boringstein,
yeah.
More like it.
But Gareth Edwards, he's kind of a newer-ish director. He made a film called Monsters, which Andrew would love to kind of wax philosophical about. I haven't seen it.
And I'll tell you all about it. Oh, man. So it came out in like 2010, I'm pretty sure, and like this movie got a big buzz because, this Garrett guy or whatever, he made it for like under $500,000. He did all the effects on his personal computer at home, and like people just shit over it. But what I can tell you is that the movie itself is actually just kind of garbage. It's got all these political message about, immigration and stuff, and really it was marketed 100% as a monster movie, which is why it wasn't a surprise to me that they gave the monster movie to this guy that already made a monster movie in quotes, when really, like, there's monsters in it for about 5 minutes, and it's just these white people walking around talking to each other the whole time.
And what I think is kind of interesting now that I've seen Godzilla and I hear about Monster is one, they market it as a monster movie. I have a feeling the people who like gave him the job, like they didn't even see Monster. Like they were just like, oh, he made a monster movie. We should have this guy direct a monster movie, and we can hire this guy for a pretty affordable price because look at this piece of shit movie he made for under $500,000. And because executives don't actually do anything. Like they're just getting their dicks sucked and their assholes waxed all the time. So I mean, I don't feel bad about not seeing the movie because I feel like I know about as much as the people who hired this guy to make this film. But the other thing I heard about it is it's a really slow movie, isn't it?
It's an extremely slow movie. So basically the plot of Monsters and how it's arranged is that it's an alternate universe where there's aliens now. They've crashed to Earth. We're not really sure how they got there. And they're in Mexico. All right, so pretty much the first top half of Mexico is completely infested with these giant squid alien monsters, which you only realize they're squids later on in the movie when you get to see them, sort of. And so they send this journalism guy down there to get his boss's daughter or something and escort her through the quarantine zone back to America. And literally that's the whole movie. Like the trailer takes very specific scenes of like cool monster stuff, and you're really thinking this is going to be like a revolutionary sci-fi film. Because, sci-fi is one of those things that they just don't really do well anymore. They just fucking half-ass it and fuck it all up. So that's the whole movie. He's walking with this girl, and then they kind of fall in love because they're from two different worlds because she's rich and he's the struggling artist. And then after I watched the movie, I looked down and my dick is just covered in blood because I didn't even realize I'd been fucking myself the whole time because it's that bad. And, like, literally, it's about white people trying to escape from Mexico to get back into America. And at the end, they're looking at the wall because they have to put up a wall to keep out Mexican squid monsters, which may or may not they just want to go work at Home Depot. I don't know, dude. Like Cthulhu, the little squid Cthulhus just want to go work at Home Depot or McDonald's or whatever. You can pick them up and they'll do your sewage or your septic tank or re-roof your house. They just want equal opportunity. But the white people are standing there after this big ordeal and literally they're like, oh, I never knew what this would feel like looking in and trying to do this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, God damn it, everybody.
Andrew, would you say there were metaphors in this movie?
Yeah, it's that thing where, like, you have one thing represent another thing, and I'm supposed to learn something afterwards, and I'm just like, you people live in mansions in the hills. Stop trying to teach me lessons about unfortunate poor people.
So he has metaphors in the movie. It's boring. There's not as much monster action in it.
Correct.
So, I mean, all this stuff is kind of, it might be foreshadowing what we're going to be talking about here, But
see, that's also fine because often enough, monster movies don't have to be about monsters to be good. But that movie was marketed very heavily as a sci-fi film, and it was a complete boner killer because he wanted to cram some political message down our throats instead.
Yeah. No one's ever done that before, though. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's innovative.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, what did we... So, segueing from that, the script writer, Borenstein...
Yeah, he's a brand new face as far as we know.
Yeah.
He's made, he wrote one movie that he also kind of narrated and directed in 2003, I think, called Sword Swallowers and something I don't care about. And until that, Godzilla was his next project, as far as we know, and then he's doing some other movie.
I mean, it could be a pen name for just someone you hate.
It could be.
I mean,
it's just Michael Bay. He's just writing more movies, so I can go pay to watch them.
I don't know, has Michael Bay really ever written anything, though?
He wrote that, car explosion. Oh, wait, that's all of his movies. They're just, all of his movies are car explosions.
He definitely sets up car explosions, for sure.
Yeah.
So going into Godzilla, here I am, and I'm thinking, all right, well, whatever, this is not going to be good. And I'm planning on going to a midnight show. And beforehand, me and Andrew are talking about trying to set up this podcast. This is kind of important to understand just how bad this movie was. And I'm texting Andrew, and I'm like, hey, we're going to be able to do this podcast, blah, 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 blah. And Andrew he's just in a fit of despair. Because
I was pretty bummed after I watched it, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, he actually went to go see it at 8 o'clock.
I went with so we have a bunch of friends, and some of them work in this comic book store, and they rented out a whole theater, and all the the whole clientele and everybody that likes anything, we all get to go have our own little private theater. It's pretty cool. There's trivia. They give out prizes. We get to see it 4 hours before everybody else does because I'm that big of a fucking nerd about stuff. And yeah, right after the movie, I sat on the corner and smoked a cigarette, and I cried a little, and then I literally abandoned all 10 of my friends and just went home and closed my door and went to bed.
Yeah, because they went out and they were all happy and stuff. They were like, dude, we just saw a sweet movie. Let's go get drunk. Now, I'm that's not my gig. That's not my gimmick.
Right.
But
I actually almost went home and reenacted Needle in the Hay from Royal Tenenbaums. I was just gonna.
Oh yeah, you were gonna shave. You were gonna shave
my face and then cut my wrist and go. Needle in the hay. Because Elliott Smith stabbed himself in the chest because he was the ultimate sad person. But I wasn't gonna stab myself in the chest necessarily.
Right, and it's just a Godzilla movie.
Right.
Sorry,
I mean
it's
not just a Godzilla movie, but yeah, we'll get there.
So. I kind of knew he was bummed out before I went to go see it, so I wasn't, I was like, well, whatever. So I went to go see it, and I saw it with a pretty packed crowd, and it was just kind of, it's a fucking boring movie in retrospect. There isn't much that happens, and it's just, I'm not going to say I wasn't disappointed because I wasn't putting a lot of hope in it. Because, I mean, for Godzilla to work, you need Japanese people to be a part of it because it's a Japanese story. Right. It's a Japanese...
we got Ken Watanabe.
Yeah, I mean...
and he's walking around talking about how the cherry blossoms...
Perfect.
The
Godzilla.
And he talks like
that. He is the predator beast.
The alpha predator.
The alpha predator. Let them fight.
Udon noodle.
God,
yeah.
Did you say udon noodle?
Yeah, I mean, he probably eats those because he's Japanese.
Yeah, how can he not?
Yeah.
So, that's the thing is Godzilla should never be really made by Americans. But, whatever. That's neither here nor there. This movie, it actually started off pretty good.
Well, hold on. Before we get going on that, I got one more thing to add. They already ruined the movie before the movie was even released with the Fiat commercial. Now, I don't know if any of you have seen the Godzilla Fiat. I'm serious, man. There's a Godzilla Fiat commercial. I am not fist fucking you. You can look it up on YouTube. It's on there. So basically,
does he stomp it like fucking Bambi?
He goes around the premise of the commercial is he goes around eating cars because he's Godzilla, but when he tries to eat the Fiat, he can't because it's so fucking awesome. Even Godzilla can't eat the Fiat. I'm like, this is a terrible commercial. But the point about the commercial is, I don't care if they plug Godzilla into shit like that. Whatever. Marketing is gonna market no matter what we do. But the point is that the Godzilla trailer was the fucking trailer of the summer. It was a very well done trailer. It literally made me cream myself when I watched it the very first time. Okay. And they take pains in this trailer. And when you watch the movie, they take pains to not just show you Godzilla right off the bat. When you watch this movie, you got to earn Godzilla at the end of it. You got to sit through the whole thing and all the little teasers. But in the Fiat commercial, which came out before the movie was even released, you just get to see him. He just walks into the city and starts eating cars. And you're like, fuck?
Oh, it's like full frontal Godzilla.
Full frontal Godzilla. and this giant Godzilla ding dong just slapping it with Fiats everywhere. And I'm like, dudes, you just fucked yourselves. Why would you spend so much time like trying to be artful with Godzilla and like, you know, subterfuge and like, you know, all this like subtlety with him and then just show him in the Fiat commercial? Like, I was so pissed.
I think I've seen them do that in other movies before where they kind of sabotage their own character. But I mean, you know, Peter Jackson's not going to let people see Smog before the movie,
I mean,
you know?
we got that going for us.
I mean, it was the only good part of that movie, so...
I mean, we almost didn't get to see Smog because Orlando Bloom was on the screen for 2.5 hours because he's so fucking pretty, I guess.
Well, he almost shot
Thanks a
our
lot,
eyes
Justin
out.
Bieber fans. I really appreciate you.
He almost shut our eyes out with one of those double shots that he does.
Yeah.
With his little curtsies and shit.
That come hither stare.
Oh, man.
So pretty. Anyway, whatever. Fuck that movie. We'll get to that later. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, so that's... Apparently Fiat commercials upset Andrew, but that's news to me. So, anyways, the beginning of this movie, and I guess it's kind of important to set up the trailer, because the trailer did a good job of actually... Godzilla's going to be in this movie. Sweet. I'm going to go see this movie.
The trailer was amazing.
And, you know, you're watching the beginning of the movie, and, you know, it's kind of the way the beginning of that trailer was, or the whole trailer was, where, you know, Bryan Cranston's in it, and Bryan Cranston's just, you know, super serious. He's just off of Breaking Bad. And he's like, this is it. This is my time to shine. Bryan Cranston usually gets little bit roles in movies, and
right. It's like the first big thing he's done since, you know, that one movie about meth.
The Breaking Bad. That's what I was talking about.
Wait, that wasn't a movie?
It was a long movie.
Oh, wait, is this where I'm the only person on earth that's never seen Breaking Bad?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh Christ.
Whatever, I've seen Breaking Bad. Shut up.
All right, so. And he's rocking out, and you know you're following him, and you're like, oh man, what a great character. He's like he's getting his wife killed by, you know, just bullshit mutas or whatever they called, motas.
Muta. Well, anyway, like they blow their emotional wad really early in the movie. Like all those intense scenes you see in the trailer happen in like the first 5 to 10 minutes, and like literally Bryan Cranston just gives a great performance, and like you're just blown away by like all this death and destruction right off the bat, and crying, and you know Bryan Cranston essentially has to kill his wife.
I mean, I literally turned to my brother, like the mutos come out, and Bryan Cranston's on the bridge, and he's like, oh shit, he's dead. And then like after they leave, they actually find him, and he's like hurt, and he's in the helicopter, and he's like, son, you know, he's like having a really emotional scene. And I turn to my brother Kevin, and I look at him, and I say, Heisenberg is the one who knocks, not Godzilla. I knew he was gonna live. And then he dies. He like dies like out of no. It isn't really out of nowhere, but he just like you just have this glimmer of hope where you're like, oh wow, he's gonna live. Like he's gonna be an assistant. Yeah. He's gonna help him. He's gonna help his son.
The trailer tricked you into thinking that Bryan Cranston is the main character.
Yeah,
it tricked us 100% on that. Those bastards.
Well, I mean, I just know you can't kill you. I mean, you can't just kill Heisenberg. Like you have to work hard at it. I mean, he's hard to kill, and then he just dies, and you're just like, what a fucking bullshit.
Right. This is why they should give out Academy Awards for trailers, because they're usually better than the actual movie.
Yeah.
They get you really excited.
So at this point now, they've killed the character that they did all of the developing for, by the way. Like, none of the other characters have been developed at this point.
Nope.
He has an ungrateful son.
Played by Kick-Ass, thank God.
Yeah, played by Kick-Ass. I don't know about God. I mean,
there is no God, Jason. Kick-Ass. There's only Godzilla.
Yeah. So anyway, where were we?
Kick-Ass is terrible. He's not a good actor. He got in a gimmicky role.
Yeah, he's like ripped and stuff, and he looks like a man. He doesn't look like a boy anymore.
He's a manly man, that's for sure.
So I mean, his character is just awful. Like he should be. I don't know what his character's motivation is, other than to just run around and be an idiot.
Well, see, that's the thing, is he doesn't really have like great motivation, because they, like I said, they blew their emotional wad really early on. Like I was really invested in the Bryan Cranston character because he had to fucking murder his wife at the beginning of the movie because she wasn't going to escape and the radiation was going to flood the city and kill everybody.
Right.
He had to kill her. And that's really intense, while his son, because this is a flashback portion, is off at school, and then like there's a scene, he sees the whole power plant crumbling, he knows his parents are in there. Like, that's some heavy emotional shit. You got an 8-year-old all by himself, seeing his parents probably dead, and then...
Yeah, but he got over it. Yeah. Which, I mean, good for him, he got over it, and he doesn't use that as angst, he just kind of...
If I got over it, you mean they use the Hurt Locker plot to make him get over it?
Yeah, he becomes a bomber, and he just has to contain. He's just so non-emotional the whole movie, and of course he's in the Navy.
Yeah, he's a
He's
Navy, a
definitely not.
naval bomb diffuser guy.
Yeah,
Like he's
so
that guy they sent to defuse bombs.
yeah, but not. It's not. It's not Hawkeye.
It's definitely not Hawkeye.
So whatever. You have this character Ken Watanabe. His character never develops, but he never has to develop because he's just the Japanese doctor. I mean,
yeah.
In a Godzilla movie, he would have been really excited and really campy and cheesy the whole time, and he would have been like,
The movie does take itself very, very seriously.
Yeah, and that's like a whole nother theme to talk about. But just character-wise, after they kill Bryan Cranston, you just don't give a fuck about anybody in this movie.
Now, there's another hour and a half of characters that are worthless.
Yeah. Oh, and not to mention the guy's wife, Kick-Ass's wife, Scarlet Witch.
Mm-hmm.
She's just super. She does just things like it's supposed to be a serious movie, but she does things that are just stupid. But like at the end, she's like in the hospital, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna give my kid to this random stranger on a bus, but you know what? Because I really care for my son, I'm going to put my son in the protection of somebody else, and I'm going to stay at this hospital where I'm going to self-sacrifice myself to help these people who are getting injured by this monstrosity of a thing going on." And it just it doesn't seem like the logical choice at all. Like in the real situation, see, here's my problem. Like if it's a serious movie and like monsters seriously show up, like, I mean, first off, everybody just, like, across the seaboard just immediately shits themselves.
Right. Well, I mean, that's how it's a monster movie, not about monsters. It's people dealing with the monsters.
Right. And but if it was, like, if people ran into monsters like this, they would their minds would be lost.
I mean, yeah, people would be eating and fucking each other within 20 minutes of a giant Muto monster running around.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, the Muto looks like something that fell off my dick in the 60s.
Right.
It's a mosquito thing, which is fine. It can look like a mosquito, I guess. I'm just like, come on, that's the best you guys can do is a mosquito monster?
Right, but the thing is, the movie's so serious, and then they do stupid things. And that's actually one of the things, if you talk to me about The Dark Knight, the 2008 movie with Heath Ledger in it.
Sure, yeah.
That's actually my biggest problem with that movie.
Why so serious?
That movie is so serious that it, like, when something happens that doesn't make any goddamn sense, it's goddamn infuriating because it's supposed to be realistic. And it's like, you either have we're talking about making realistic movies about fucking comic books and Godzilla monster movies. You can't have it both ways. But at the same time, maybe the first Godzilla movie is pretty serious. It's serious shit.
It is very serious, and I'll talk about that a little more later. But like, even in traditional Godzilla movies, Godzilla's not in the movie a lot. He shows up, like, it's pretty predictable plot. Godzilla shows up, fights monster, might get his ass kicked, might win. Monster shows up again later, big fight happens, Godzilla walks off into the sunset.
It's basically like an Amazing Spider-Man comic.
Right, and the rest of the time, and you're watching these old Japanese movies from the 50s and 60s, like, the majority of the time, it's the characters that are monopolizing the plot of this particular movie, running around, and they have their conversations, talk about how they feel and how Godzilla relates to them. And there's also a big chunk of time where they're watching Godzilla and they're either cheering for him or rooting against him, because sometimes he's still the bad guy.
Yeah, sometimes being a dick.
Yeah, Godzilla's like your alcoholic father. He'll show up and whip your ass, but if somebody else is trying to whip your ass, maybe he'll pause and whip their ass.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough love.
Godzilla's like my alcoholic father is what I'm trying to say.
Right. I mean, Godzilla is a friend of the people.
Yeah. My father beat me when I was a child. That's what I'm actually trying to say.
Godzilla. Do I need to call a hotline for you?
Oh my god.
Oh, what? So much drama on the podcast. I didn't know.
I'm just saying.
So, we have this serious movie, and they've killed all the characters that are interesting. So you're watching like a serious drama, and you don't care about any of the characters, and all you're waiting for are these monsters.
I mean, the only character you do care about is the dog that's tied up at the beach Godzilla makes a tidal wave, and they just borrowed that right from, that one movie with Will Smith and Aliens.
No one cares.
The Year of Our Lord.
No one cares. It
was Independence Day, where the dog runs down the tunnel, and you're really happy when the dog lives. They do the exact same thing in this movie, and they rip off a bunch of other shit.
I fucking hate dogs.
Yeah, like if the only way you can get me emotionally invested in your movie is to almost kill a dog, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you should have gotten me emotionally invested in the characters you killed after 5 minutes, you fucks.
I was ready to leave after Bryan Cranston died. Like, we're talking about Breaking Bad. I waited many hours, I think 60 hours to watch him die. 60.
Right.
That's a lot of episodes.
Anyway, we're dragging on this too. So we've established that the characters that we're left with for like 2/3 of the movie aren't interesting. We don't care because it's not even as like emotionally enticing as like this military guy that loves his family is trying to fight his way home. He's just kind of dicking around the whole time, and like he just says he loves his wife, but we don't ever actually get to see him love his wife.
He definitely doesn't love his kid.
No, he doesn't.
Because I mean, we all know what happened. He's like, she's like, you can't leave. You know, right after like he gets back, he's like, you got to show up to his fucking soiree the next
after
day.
that line from his commanding officer, he's like, take it slow. This is the one thing they don't train you for because you've just been in the Hurt Locker for 2 years. Like, give me a break.
So he comes back and he immediately leaves to go after his father. That's a completely unresolved issue. They never talk about it.
Yep.
And just the whole time, like, she should just be pissed because he's like, I can't believe you went after your father to forsake your son. Couldn't you have taken me and your son to Japan?
Right.
How much of a better movie is it if he's like, oh, I'm back from the military, I have to go save dad. Hey, wife and son, you have to come with me. And then all hell breaks loose.
And then they're all
and he's got to take care of his family.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Like I just made this movie 1,000. Call fucking Gareth Edwards or
we just
Borenstein.
Yeah, and then like we really don't care whether he gets back to her or not because they don't ever develop their relationship at all. They're literally together for like 5 minutes, and then he leaves, and they talk on the phone one time, and he saves this Japanese kid, and we're supposed to like parallel like saving this kid from him wanting to save his own kid, but like he doesn't ever talk about it. He doesn't talk about his feelings like a single time during the movie, and he's just running around a lot. And then he goes on this death mission for no reason, and then everybody lives happily ever after.
Yeah, well, and here's a couple points to make there. Like my claim when I watched the movie is he actually serves the movie in no way. Like he didn't actually do anything. Like
No.
when you think about what he did, he put like a mechanical device on a nuclear bomb because, you know, the Mutos were doing EMP blasts, which I think EMP was used more in this movie than in like every Star Trek movie combined.
The giant mosquito monster that fell off my dick has an EMP ability, apparently. So it's an EMP emitting giant mosquito.
Are you trying to say
creature.
if you use your dick, you can turn off electrical devices?
I mean, I most certainly can shoot things at electrical devices to turn them off with my wiener, yes.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
So, at this point, you know, he's done that, and then they completely just barely fail at getting the bomb to... I mean, I can't even explain that scene where, like, the Muta, like outsmarts him on the bridge. Like, the Muta should just be like, where's the nuclear source? I'm gonna eat that shit.
I mean, that's all it did the whole movie. Like, that's another giant plot hole is, like, somehow the powers that be think that they can kill the nuclear-feeding monsters. And that's how they explain it. Godzilla was a giant nuclear-feeding monster, okay? And then he had to go into hibernation. And then these monsters are literally going around eating nuclear missiles for, like, 45 minutes. So their plan is to drop a bigger missile on these monsters to blow it up with the blast.
Well, it was just the explosion.
Yeah. But that still doesn't make any sense to me. Like, they're these giant monsters, and not only are you gonna you're gonna destroy like the eastern seaboard doing that.
Yeah,
like,
the western sea. I mean,
western seaboard, eastern seaboard.
It was Pacific.
Oh, it was San Francisco. Which thank God all those hippies are dead, but they probably got to live.
No, none of them died. I mean, that's the other problem too. So like, dude, like goes through. He doesn't do anything the whole time. He gets thrown into like the lair of the Muto, and of course, like he fucking has the brilliant idea to like, those must be the eggs. I'm gonna destroy the eggs. Right. And you're just like, well, way to go, guy. You're super smart, I guess. Like, where did you develop this wonderful information from? Like, was it because he talked to the doctor that you learned about the eggs or sacs?
Remember, there's that brief scene where he sees the pregnant Muto monster with the egg sacs when it's walking over him when they're doing the horrible train scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he just remembered that they were...
But, I mean, wouldn't it have been better if, like, he got information from the doctor?
Oh, you mean Ken Watanabe, who's one of the most underutilized actors in the whole movie? Yeah.
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 So, he actually does do something, believe it or not. He does, like, kill all the eggs. Not that Godzilla couldn't have done that with his plasma breath. But, you know, just saying.
Right.
So then they, like, drag the bomb down to the coast and all that. And they literally can't open the case of this thing, of the bomb. And this is actually like on screen for 5 minutes. Like there's like a sealed case on the nuclear
Right.
bomb.
Well, I mean, they explain it because it's an EMP proof bomb.
And they just can't
Dirt
like
to dirt.
use a hammer or like a a fucking crowbar or anything to open the case. They just can't do it. Our military can't do it. It's just the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen.
I'm also kind of tired of military people being, portrayed like this as just these inept dudes. Like, they deserve their dignity just like anybody else. And, like, to make the main character who's in the military such a straw figure anyway is just pretty insulting. Like, that guy probably really does love his family and believes in something and wanted to get home and save the world and all this shit. But, like, the whole time he's just like, oh, I'm kick-ass. I show no emotion. I will save the world from Godzilla.
Yeah, and they just don't develop the story at all because it's bad writing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyways, we get to the end, and the nuclear bomb goes off because even in the end, our hero is completely just terrible. Like, he doesn't do anything. And the nuclear bomb goes off somewhere off the coast of the Pacific.
He miraculously escaped, though, on a boat that drove itself, though.
Yeah, and, like, he got away. Like, the explosion happened, like, 2 seconds after they were flying away. Now, here's what we saw earlier in the movie. They talked about testing nuclear explosions on Godzilla in 1954, and they were like, "Oh, well, those were enough to put Godzilla to sleep," which that might be true. I mean, he was just tired. He might have been tired.
He was tuckered out, man.
Yeah, and
he had to go to bed.
And this time they go, well, these nuclear weapons are gonna make the one we used in '54 look like a joke. Like we're talking megatons versus, I can't remember what the specific quote was, but. I know a little. I'm actually was alive during the Cold War for a brief time. I know a lot of our listeners probably weren't.
Right.
Yeah, but
what listeners?
Exactly, that's true. I mean, they haven't been born yet. So,
yeah, no.
And a megaton, like a large megaton bomb, like does a little bit more than nothing. So this is probably like the second or third movie where like there's been a nuclear weapon. And like Superman, did that feature a nuclear weapon going off?
Yeah, there's all sorts of bombs blowing up and not affecting the world at all. That whole nuclear winter, giant shockwave, kill zone thing.
Yeah, so I mean, either Hollywood's lying to us, or the government's lying to us, or science is lying to us, or Hollywood is just full of semen.
I think Ken Watanabe's lying to us when he pulls out his father's watch that stopped when the bomb went off in Hiroshima. I'm like, how do you have that?
I think one of my favorite parts of that part is I don't know why that was relevant to anything going on, except like he was trying to make a point. Like
you need a Japanese sympathy moment.
It was a Japanese sympathy moment, which is kind of like having a black sympathy moment, which they didn't have in this movie. So what the fuck, Godzilla?
Yeah, I mean, Godzilla obviously is not politically correct.
I mean, how are
He's
you
probably
ever
going to get picketed?
I mean, 12 Years a Slave won Best Picture last year. You guys don't even have a fucking chance if you don't have black sympathy in it.
I mean, actually, Godzilla, I think, is traditionally from Africa. I think he is an African gentleman. So, I mean, they got their minorities covered. Godzilla's actually black. Blackzilla.
You think he wears Jordans?
Blackzilla, how do you feel about that? For those of you that don't know, that's actually Godzilla talk for sup, Nuka.
Yeah.
Because he's black.
Yeah. So, anyways, Godzilla. We've talked about it for a pretty good amount of time. I think a lot of it was just kind of random.
Right.
But
well, I mean, I got a couple things, but
I guess here's the last point I want to make is that they made this movie. It was a really serious movie, and we talk about how the old Godzilla movies were serious and they were metaphors.
Correct.
Like they were metaphors for.
If you think that Godzilla is just about a dude in a suit, you're actually kind of a stupid person, and I would like to help you not be as stupid. Like, Godzilla is a really serious metaphor for, like, nuclear war, because we did that thing where we blew up Japan that one time. And, like, 10 years later, when they finally put their shit back together, they started making movies with, their undestroyed civilization, and, they wanted to talk about the pain of their culture. And they did that via sci-fi with Godzilla.
So, what's important here, the reason I'm bringing it up, is Gareth Edwards made a movie called Monsters.
Correct.
Which was supposedly a metaphor for...
Mexicans being sad in places.
Yeah. And this movie didn't have that in it. Like, there was a small, brief moment where Ken Watanabe was like, don't nuke him, let him fight. Like, that was literally, and I'm just like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Because literally, if you think about it, it's like, don't use any countermeasures. Just let them go to war. in the middle of San Francisco. Which, I mean, you know, if you're not into the gay thing, it's probably all right with you. But you know,
I mean, they're all too busy driving hybrids over there to worry about Godzilla. To be fair, their hybrid cars will protect them.
So how can you just have this absolutely serious movie and there's no good metaphorage in it? Like, how can he have? Where did he fuck it up?
They're just relying on its already established like fan base to just carry them through. That's all they're doing. Like Godzilla's a very iconic character.
Right. Like Japanese people are going to see this movie no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, shit. I was gonna go see it no matter what.
Right.
And they got me.
I mean, you're basically a Japanese person.
Yeah. You know, I think all the cherry blossoms are perfectly blue and all that. Briefly, some stuff that we did like about the movie. Like, it was really boring. I wasn't a huge fan, but like, the monster shit that was there was actually pretty cool. The CG was very well done. You know, when they finally get to the monster fight at the end, like, it's pretty good. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I liked it.
Yeah, but I mean, that shit's so easy to do. Like here's anytime we have a conversation about special effects, like they have to be good. Like you can't even make a movie anymore and not have it be good. This dude made his last movie on a fucking laptop. Like this was actually like a studio production. I don't know what the budget on it was, but
it was probably pretty big. But I mean, the point is that they tease us a lot with Godzilla, which actually frustrated me several times. I think we could have used at least one more Godzilla fight scene because, you know, we kind of got shortchanged in that regard. But, you know, at the end, you know, we finally get him, you know, and it's not monster overload where it takes away from the rest of the movie. Unfortunately, like, that's a double-edged sword because there was really nothing else in the movie to take away from, so you may as well have loaded in more cool monster stuff. And also, too, like, Godzilla, he wrestles these mosquito monsters for a while, but, like, he's king of the fucking monsters. And, like, literally, he is king of all of the monsters. He murdered the fuck out of every other monster because he's the baddest ass on the block. He's Leroy Brown on steroids.
He's the alpha predator.
See, he is black. See what I'm saying? Yeah. He's the alpha predator.
He is Randy Orton.
Right? But, like, they just kind of make him... Well, I don't know about... I mean, he is the legend killer. I guess you got me there. But they make him fight these mosquitoes, and then he dispatches them pretty awesomely, like, with the plasma breath down the throat. He just straight up crushes the other one with his tail whip. But, like... He didn't really have to fight them that long if he's just gonna, you know, dispatch them so effortlessly. And, like, they really should have let Godzilla just fucking get as carnal as possible and just fucking rip these little bastards apart. But then it's a PG-13 movie, so they kind of robbed him of his dignity again on that regard. By not just letting him, like, reign gloriously full of blood. Which was another thing, too. In the old Godzilla movies, like, Godzilla gets bloodied up. Mechagodzilla whipped his ass in the beginning. Like, Godzilla was bloody and broken, and then Godzilla comes back victorious and whips his ass. You know, and they just kind of took that away from us, and they just were like, "Oh, Godzilla, derp derp," and then he's gone.
Yeah, I mean, there were classic feuds.
There were feuds, yeah.
You know, my last piece about this is something important I wanted to say. I know we've been going on a little bit here, but I think the look of the film was great. I think he filmed it really well. I'm not just talking about special effects. I'm just talking about how he placed the camera, what he did with the camera, how he paced the movie. It was a bit slow, but what kind of drew you into the characters, if there was a way to get drawn into the characters, is he used a lot of Spielbergian stuff. If you watch a lot of Spielberg movies, watch Close Encounters, watch Jaws, Gareth Edwards knows how to make his movies look like a Spielberg movie. Even like E.T., you have those moments where they're moving around and, you know, it feels like a nostalgic city, or it feels like, you know, this feels like home. Godzilla's getting ready to fuck up our home. You know, it has all that good stuff in there. The problem is that while it looked like a Spielberg movie, it did not sound anything like a Spielberg movie. Spielberg movies always have, I'm not going to say always, because, like, War of the Worlds, not a great script. Like, it wasn't a good script. But even in there, they have gimmicky stuff that they say. They have emotional through lines that happen. Something happens at the beginning, the character tries to develop even at the end. I mean, his other movies, his older ones, obviously, Close Encounters, Jaws, E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, these are perfect films. And you can tell that Gareth Edwards watches those movies, and he was priding himself on that, but the script didn't have all the perfection of that. So I think that's one of the big problems that the movie has, is you get drawn into the human characters that there are in a Spielberg movie. That's actually the best thing he does. He's the best in the business at capturing human emotion, working with kids. He's the best at that. And that's the reason why he's still, you know, one of the most sought after filmmakers. But Gareth Edwards needs a little work. And that was kind of my takeaway from that movie is I liked what I was seeing, but I hated the rest of it. So that's a little unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten over it a little bit, but yeah, I was a little bummed out about it. But like the actual monster stuff that we do get is pretty cool. But the rest of the movie, like the whole movie could just be the last 30 minutes, and like I wouldn't have lost anything. So I mean, I think one of their big mistakes that they made is like just the universe that it took place in. Like if they had already made it so like people knew about Godzilla, like he was a thing in the 50s, and they put him to sleep with weapons, because the big theme of the movie is the whole arrogance of man when they're trying to squeeze in their metaphor about global warming, which I think is what he was trying to do with it. But I could be wrong. It just kind of seemed like that was his thing. Not nuclear war, but global warming.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was a metaphor for global warming.
I don't know. It was very poorly done. But anyway, like if Godzilla already exists and we had to put him to sleep, and then in this plot of this movie, like they make the Muto, the mosquito monster, to defeat Godzilla later in the future, and then it just gets out of hand, and then they have to wake up Godzilla to fight the monster they made to beat Godzilla. Like that's the fucking arrogance of man going out of control. That's people realizing that they're full of shit. And then, we can follow around Bryan Cranston and Kick-Ass, like preparing their father-son relationship, and like he wants to help his son get home to his wife because his wife fucking died in that nuclear accident. See, I just wrote a much better movie and it took me 20 seconds.
Right. I mean, it doesn't do much to make the movie more interesting. I just don't get it. You fucked up. You done fucked up. But, whatever. They're going to make another one because this movie made $1 billion already.
I'm going to go see it too. So you guys win. And you beat me again.
We'll definitely go see it. I just hope Bryan Cranston comes back as a zombie.
Oh, zombie Cranston.
Zombie Cranston.
What if they actually take his body, turn him into a zombie, and make him a giant zombie Bryan Cranston, and then he battles Godzilla?
Has he ever fought a zombie monster before?
He fought that squid fog monster thing, Hedorah. There's been a lot of guys he's fought, I'd also accept the Ghost of Ultimate Warrior coming back from the dead and just fucking meleeing.
That would be good.
I mean, in that case, I don't know who to root for. I love them both so much.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets Godzilla in a gorilla press.
I mean, that's true. But I mean, their tested strength would be an epic thing.
That's true, except Godzilla's arms only go up so high.
Right. Anyway, before we start fapping each other again, let's talk about our rating system.
Oh my god, the rating system.
So, since we're called End of the World Movie Reviews, we actually believe that movies will become so bad at some point that the world might actually just end.
Yeah, I mean, you can only open so many seals.
The sky will open up will be down, The Rock will be champion again.
Oh my god, if The Rock's champion again, that's going to be good.
It'll be something.
I love Rock.
I know, I hate you so bad.
Yeah, I just like black people though, so.
Yeah, I mean, he's not technically black.
He was in the Nation of Domination, though.
Oh, yeah, I guess there's that. You gotta have at least one black guy. We've learned that already. Anyway, so we rate the movies based on how many seals have opened up. So, if anybody knows anything about books that were written a long time ago about Jesus and stuff, when the four horsemen get here, like seals open up and shitty things start happening in the world. So we kind of give it a rating based on that. The less seals, the better we think the movie is, and we'll explain to you what the seals mean. So, Jason, what's your rating for this film?
This has been so long. I haven't opened seals. 5? I mean, it was bad, right?
I don't know if I give it a 5. I was thinking about giving it the Seal 2, Famine.
I mean, you were gonna give this movie like 6 seals the night I called you.
Yeah, but I mean, I've come to terms with the fact that like I'm always gonna be disappointed in that all that famous people do is take my childhood and they just bend it over that fucking pinball machine in Jodie Foster's movie, where they just rape her real hard. Like, literally, Hollywood just sleeps with its penis inside of my childhood. They just sleep inside of me. And, like, I wake up and there's just a wiener inside my childhood all the time. And, like, there's just all these hands on my face and I'm just disappointed. And there's just nothing I can do about it. I'm just a semen water balloon of disappointment. So, on that note, like, I'm still going to give the movie a 2.
Wow.
Famine, because I was hungry for more Godzilla. Like, I really, really wanted them to give me more stuff. And they just kind of let me down.
I mean, I definitely want to punch Gareth Edwards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's at least a 3. It only goes downhill from there.
Yeah, well, you gotta talk about what your seal is if you remember.
That's what I'm saying. Like, no, like 3 is at least.
Okay, well, what was 3? Tell the audience.
That's war.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to punch Gareth Edwards in the face. If you remember, like, if I want to inflict violence on someone, that's at least a 3. I can't remember if 4 is death.
4 is definitely death. we'll figure out the rest of our shit later. But yeah, I'm hungry for more. Jason wants to go to war, and I think that's fair. I'm actually willing. We could get in my car right now and drive to his house.
We
and
could
just punch him in the face real fast.
Yeah.
As long as we can stop at J.R. Martin's house too, because I have some
Where
choice words.
Where do you think Gareth Edwards lives? I mean, his name is Gareth.
He lives in a fucking mansion on a hill somewhere.
No, he has no money. Listen, if your name is Gareth, you live in a hovel somewhere in like fucking downtown Chi-Town or something. And
that's not true. He just directed the blockbuster movie of the summer.
He probably got paid like $5.
He lives in a mansion on a hill. He does cocaine and bangs hookers probably, and doesn't actually care about the Mexicans he makes movies about or the global warming that he's concerned about. Maybe we'll invite him on the show. Gareth Edwards, if you want to come on the show and talk to us about Godzilla. You have my full endorsement, sir. You can come down here.
God, if we could get this to Gareth Edwards,
I
just want to talk to a guy named Gareth. I don't know what to call a guy named Gareth. Do they call you Gare?
Gare Bear?
They call you Gareth the Reth?
It doesn't matter. Anyway, all right. So that's where we're at on Godzilla, I think. In future episodes, you're not going to have to just listen to us talk for an hour about one thing. This is just our first episode.
It will be an innovation because we're normally used to just talking about one thing, but.
Right.
In the future, we'd like to try to do like a 30-minute review about something new, and then we want to talk about something old. Because I know a lot of you don't actually see movies on time because you are all busy, using air quotes right now.
Yeah, we got things.
And, you can't make it out to a new movie, and you might not see it until it comes out on, television or free TV, Netflix, or I don't know. A movie's like $10. Like, it's much cheaper than going to a bar. So, hey, go to a fucking movie.
Anyway, definitely go to a fucking movie if you can. But what we're going to do is we're going to have like a Q&A section too, so you can submit questions to our Facebook page, End of the World Movie Reviews on Facebook, which I'm in the process of fixing that up right now. And then, we'll read your questions and we'll answer them, and you can ask us any questions about anything. It doesn't even have to be about the movie we're talking about. We just want some participation, get the audience involved in what we're talking about.
Yeah, we need some other movies to review. So if you have a movie that you'd like to hear us just bullshit about,
please suggest things. We'll talk about it. And
because we've seen a lot of movies. I mean, no doubt. And we know we have an opinion. We definitely have an opinion about them.
Right. And also, if you disagree with our opinion, please give yours and we'll discuss it with you. You can come on the show. Gareth Edwards. All right, well, I think that's all we got for this one. Godzilla, everybody.
Yeah. And, tune in next time. We'll probably be talking about X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yeah, because Hugh Jackman will never die.
I'm about as excited for that as getting gonorrhea.
It's one of those things where Jason's going to wake up with Hollywood's wiener inside of his childhood, and there'll be some tears.
It's just the X-Men. I mean, it's not like it's important or anything.
It's important to you.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway. But anyways, until next time, we'll have a Facebook up, and definitely not a Twitter. I don't think we'll have a Twitter yet.
I don't even know how to Twitter. I mean, I've Twittered a clit here and there.
Have you ever tweeted a clit?
I'm going to learn how right now.
The act of typing on Twitter is tweeting.
All right.
It's pretty awful.
All right. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to our first episode about Godzilla. Like us on Facebook if you want. Submit your questions, make suggestions about things, and then, we'll be back next time to talk about more crap that doesn't make any difference to anybody but us.
Yeah. Y'all have a good one. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Godzilla.
Thank you, Godzilla.
Thank you, Godzilla.